Hello, everybody, and welcome to Atheist Sunday School, your one-stop shop for everything Atheist Sunday and school. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today we are covering John, chapters 10 through 12.
Specifically, the Gospel of John.
That is true. I mean, eventually we're going to get the Johannine epistles.
Yes, which are also called John.
Well, I mean, you have 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, so we're going to have to say 1st John. We're going to have...
because 1st John isn't the first book in the order that's called John. It's 1st John.
Is first and last name right there. There's first is his first name. John is his last name.
John.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like Mario, Jumpman Mario or something where he's got Mario twice at his name?
Mario, Luigi Mario.
I'm sorry, what?
If you watch the Super Mario Brothers movie, they're the Mario Brothers
That's
plumbing.
Right. Yeah. That's right. So they'd be Mario, and Luigi Mario. That's right.
Yeah, isn't that great? There you go.
Anyways, we got Lazarus rising from the dead today. And it's good to be back doing this show.
Yeah, because you couldn't.
No,
actually, you could have. You had the ability to, and you chose not to.
Wow.
You know what? You're right. I chose not to because all of my friends that I've known online flew in for the event. So I was like, you know what?
You should have just made them all wait.
I had to give people rides and stuff.
The whole event, you should have delayed it by a few days.
You could have,
and then you could have been in it.
I should have delayed the event. Yeah.
Yes.
That's totally what I should have done.
You're good at those kind of things. Remember when everyone quit Jimmy John's? You are good at those kind of things. You don't know how disruptive you can be until you decide
that was
to
pretty
be
easy
disruptive.
That was pretty easy to be disruptive there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost kind of the same situation, though. You have a car filled with streamers, and you could have just said, nah, we're not going because I can't
They would
go.
just Uber over. They're adults.
I know, dude. I'm joking. Wow. Easier to solve.
Either way, you know what else I brought? I don't know if we're ever going to cover this or not, but I kind of wanted...
Probably not.
No, but not on this kind of show. But we might use it for something. It's the 12-step program book.
Yeah, it's very religious.
It is. I was reading off some of these steps to Chris.
They want you to admit that you're powerless and that everything is in the hands of God.
Essentially, yeah. So there is I think it does people a disservice. But anyways, what books do we have?
Well, you just named one that we're not going to
We're not going to cover that one.
But I have the King James Version of the Bible.
I have the English Standard Version. That was just something that someone left at work.
Yes, we also have the Jewish Annotated New Testament and the NIV Study Bible.
We have Erdman's commentary on the Bible. And from Ernst Henken from the Hermenia commentary series. This is the 2nd volume on John.
We also have the Greek New Testament and a textual guide to the Greek New Testament.
We also have the text of the New Testament by Bruce Metzger and the Historical Jesus in Context by Amy Jill Levine.
We also have the new King James Version and, most importantly, the Oxford Companion to the Bible.
Why do you insist on talking about the Oxford Companion to the Bible?
Because it's still on the
most
table.
Importantly?
He said most importantly.
If you were to remove it from the table, then I wouldn't be able to say that we have it, but you still haven't removed it from the table, despite it being completely useless.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Such a good point. Why have you not listened to him? This is
I
evident of your bad listening skills. Just leave it there forever. It's funny.
Yeah, we have the complete works of Josephus,
which could theoretically be useful.
It has proved useful-ish sometimes. It's been helpful.
More in Apocrypha.
That's true. Yeah, definitely
Pseudepigrapha, really.
Yeah. Either way.
Anyway, we're gonna be reading from St. John today.
Yep, we are.
Yep. And this chapter 10, starts off with a speech from Jesus.
Classic, a speech from Jesus
in
the New Testament.
Yeah. In fact, it's mostly a speech from Jesus with occasional breaks.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, I will hop into chapter 10 of John. Verily, verily, I say unto you, He that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold. What's the sheepfold? Is that just like their area that they store the sheep in?
No, it's a very specific
folding mechanism.
Folding mechanism for sheep.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never even heard the word sheepfold. So the thief and the robber does not enter in through the door in the sheepfold, in which the sheep are collected at night and guarded by an assistant shepherd. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a shepherd motif, and the NIV Study Bible says that 10:1 through 30 should be understood in light of the Old Testament and ancient Near Eastern concept of a shepherd, symbolizing a royal caretaker of God's people. God himself shepherds.
Like plenty of times he is given that kind of role.
Yeah. And there's also false shepherds and all sorts of different shepherds. This is the true shepherd. He that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the porter openeth, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out. And when he putteth forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. And a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers. So that's the first part. This is his parable. Now, it doesn't really follow that people should be following Jesus, of course, because like with his parable here, it would be obvious if he were the true shepherd, because he would be calling them by name and they would know his voice and they would follow him, right? Given that that is not what happened, either in real life or in the story of the Bible, no, that would mean that he is not this true shepherd.
Well, I mean, in this context, he could be like, Jesus does this a lot, where he talks, or he's like really talking about himself, but he's always doing it in like the third person.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say. The secret message is always like him behind all this stuff.
Like
me all
all this stuff you did to the stuff that's going to happen to the Son of Man, but it's like he's really talking about himself.
Yeah. So like if I were to say, one day there will come forth the most righteous man who will perform an oratory experience for audiences alongside the last Yufa.
Yeah, like that.
Okay. Also, I like how you just accepted that you're the last
I'm fine
Yufa.
with being the last one.
There will never be another Yufa.
I mean,
worldwide.
I guess my
sure that
my
you
cousins
have
had kids.
Are
they Yufas?
Yes.
Really?
Wait, no, they're
No,
not.
no.
They're not Yufas. No.
You're the last Yufa.
Yes.
You're like me, where I'm not the last Kuruk or the last Shay, but I am one of the last of the male lines on both.
You're the last Shay Kuruk. That's
I'm
definitely
the only
true.
Shay Kuruk.
Yep.
Last
Look it
one.
up.
Last one.
Thanks.
The last Shay Kuruk. Actually, even if he had kids, they probably wouldn't have the hyphen.
I don't want that.
Shay Kuruk
I don't want
name.
them to have it.
No.
Yeah, that's all for him.
In fact, if they had a mom who also wanted her name hyphenated on, then
They definitely
it would be
shouldn't have
a
it.
double hyphen, and that would just be a horrible name. Imagine trying to write that onto a Scantron.
I don't want to. I don't want to do that.
Horrible.
My last name is 4 letters, and I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Mine's only 9. That's not that bad.
With a hyphen.
10.
You have to include the hyphen.
10 then. It's still not. I guess that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So let's continue on here. This parable spake Jesus unto them, but they understood not what things they were which he spake to them. How did they not? It's very straightforward. Okay. Then said Jesus, okay, you know what? Not only is it very straightforward, it would be incredibly obvious to anyone who had any knowledge of the Jewish scripture, which means that in all likelihood, these people following Jesus are just like the worst educated people in all of Judea at this time. And like the only reason that they would be following Jesus is because they know nothing about the scriptures that he refers to, right?
Okay, so just to refresh my memory here a bit. So who was he just talking to?
He was talking to them.
So, all right, he was talking about
he's
the
not
people.
talking to his followers. He's talking to the Pharisees at the end of chapter 9.
Yeah, yeah.
But that makes even less sense because
they
the
would certainly
Pharisees would certainly know.
Yeah.
In fact, they would be some of the most highly educated Jewish scholars.
They would be, yeah.
At the time.
Like they would
Which,
at
as
least
it turns
understand.
out, they didn't know anything, so there weren't any highly educated Jewish
Right, but
scholars.
the thing is, like they knew what the book said, right?
Mm-hmm.
They knew what whatever
And what the common
Talmudic-
motifs would have been.
Yeah, like they would have recognized that.
Yeah. Like they're not complete idiots.
Yeah.
Okay. Then said Jesus unto them again, Verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. And all that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out, and find pasture. The thief cometh not, but for to steal, and to kill, and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep.
Yeah, he's not one of those fake shepherds. So there's an interesting amount of interpretations that have been proposed for this parable.
Now here's a Trinitarian thing, right? He is the door to the sheepfold, but he is also the good shepherd.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So there is some Trinitarian concept probably being communicated here, because John does that. None of the other Gospels really do.
I mean, John is way more like obvious about it. You can pull Trinitarian interpretations from other texts, but with John,
it's on the nose.
Well, the thing is, with John, I wouldn't even. It is definitely closer to there. I'd say on the nose would be in 1 John. The Johannine comma. That would be the most on the nose thing.
Well, when the Gospel of John literally starts in John 1:1.
No, I know. But we talked about that. that. So the thing is, if you translate it differently, then it would make actual logical sense, first of all.
Right.
So that is. So I think I forgot who it was that we talked about in the first episode, but his interpretation was
that they're fellow divine beings.
It would just be they would be divine in nature, which is I think may also strengthen the idea of the Nicene Creed, where it's all the same substance, the same ousia. So I think that would be more defensible for John, plainly speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to, the most on the nose thing would be the actual Trinitarian doctrine there in 1 John. But this one, yes, it is much easier to come away with that. So it's an interesting argument that was proposed there. But anyways, so for this allegory, there have been a lot of interpretations. So, where was I right here? Okay. So, John does not provide the hidden meaning. However, he only reports that Jesus' hearers did not understand the figure of speech. It is certain that he had Jesus in mind in the figure of the shepherd, as the following makes clear. But that does not mean that it is permitted or even required that the other figures be interpreted allegorically, one and all. For example, these suggestions have been made. The gatekeeper means Moses. That's according to Chrysostom, who was a early church father. Or it means the Baptist. Zahn still interprets it this way, or perhaps it's God. That's Schlotter's view. Nevertheless, the contrast between the good shepherd and the thief and the robber, who are revealed in their relationship to the sheep, would have been the key to the text for the reader. Since Jesus was without doubt the good shepherd for them, it remains to ask what the flock represents. The fourth gospel knows nothing of a constituted community with ecclesiastical officials, although that strikes Casement as incredible. The community for which the evangelist composed his gospel was a group of pneumatics that is the way the Jewish Christian community of the earliest period appeared to him, although he knew of the existence of the 12.
100-point show question.
Oh my God.
What is
Why-
the Aramaic that Jesus says when he's on the cross just before he dies?
Dude, I don't remember.
It appears in like 3 books.
Oh, isn't
Lawrence.
it like Eloi, something else? I don't remember.
Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani.
Okay,
You got like, I guess 33 points.
thanks.
Like a
We're not
third
doing
of
this.
it.
We're not doing
We
it.
just did.
We
Yeah.
shouldn't.
So,
He keeps throwing it in there. If you follow along, he's going to keep doing it.
Yep.
You just got to discourage the behavior. Oh, yes.
you answered the question.
That's true. I did. That's on me. Sorry, guys.
It's your fault. So, anyways, he says that he is the good shepherd. But he that is a hireling and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming and leaveth the sheep and fleeth. And the wolf catcheth them and scattereth the sheep. The hireling fleeth because he is a hireling and careth not for the sheep. I am the good shepherd and know my sheep and am known of mine. As the Father knoweth me, even so know I the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice. And there shall be one fold and one shepherd. Wow, so non-Jews then, right?
So I think this this might be like an allusion to I mean, it depends on the translation, I guess. So I could be just totally off here. I wonder if it's translated in all works as full. I don't actually know if that's the full thing. What verse did you just finish?
16. And other sheep I have which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice. And there shall be one fold and one shepherd.
Okay. So I heard that wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and yeah, so there will be one flock, one shepherd. Okay, gotcha.
Which of course is what all those Christians complain about so much is like eventually a one world government. They're terrified of it. Even though this is like pretty much exactly what Jesus
Yeah, but see, it can't be a government, right? Because with the new,
No, really, no government in the kingdom of heaven.
I know what you're going for, but they wouldn't consider it like a governing body. It would just be this is God. Like this, how could God be wrong?
They have
right?
a kingdom and a law.
Listen, I understand what you're saying.
They've got
I
records
do.
and books and like accountants. And
There's punishments.
I understand that.
you can get unmade and remade if you're an angel. Angel society is just insane.
I agree with you on pretty much all these counts.
But they are kind of just automata of God.
There are certainly ways of talking about, like if you want to talk about a world where you have now God ruling and now there's heaven on earth and stuff like that. It would be because there's not gonna be like an election. I guess it would be, closer to an authoritarian rule, but the thing is with
yes, a tyrannical rule.
Yeah. But when it comes to it being God, right, it's not like they're going to have much of an issue with that.
In fact, well, given the amount of praising of slave owners that Jesus does, and the amount of times that those who follow God's wishes are directly called slaves, I guess you might even call it like a tyrannical slaveocracy.
Yeah, they're called slaves or servants, depending on the translation.
It means slave.
No, it depends on which word. But if they use doulos, it is slave, I think.
Well, you guys, you could look at it like, they're an organism as a whole, and God being like the nucleus of the cell.
I'm not.
I'm done.
I'm not even
done. I just want to annoy
that.
you after that.
So,
and the angels are the messenger RNA.
That's
wow,
right.
horrible.
That's right. He's gonna do this to you now, and I didn't have to do it anything.
I would say that, like, if you're talking about a world like that, if you're living in the ancient world, you would use words like kingdom to express the grandeur of something like this.
Okay.
So that would be the one note that I would say, even though in every like minute detail, you are absolutely correct that it has laws and it's called a kingdom. Yeah, absolutely. I am completely in agreement with you on these things, but I think it was also a way to talk about that grandeur that they're expecting.
Well, probably.
Yeah.
Though there are other terms that they use, like paradise.
They could have used paradise. Yeah.
And
I think they have used it for
Yes,
that coming
they have.
world. Yeah.
There you go. That's right.
Well,
That's
this
the
raises a
mitochondria.
serious question about identity here. Is paradise a shared identity with the kingdom, or are these distinct entities?
Well, I don't know if they'd be distinct entities.
Like there's
maybe there's two different words to
different
describe the same
levels
thing.
of heaven, right?
Right.
The first heaven, the second heaven,
Right,
seventh
but
heaven.
the thing is,
Some of them are divided even further inside their own heavens. Like one of them is half frozen and half on fire all the time. That one was the one that was the most fucked too.
I think the most fucked one was one of them where there was a dude, I forget in which
Just
one it
one
was,
dude.
but he saw the vision of a bunch of people. I think we figured out that they were transforming
Oh right.
into angels.
Oh, are you talking about the Apocalypse of Abraham?
It might have been in the Apocalypse of Abraham.
I think that was when he is going up into heaven.
Yeah.
On the back of that bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they see all these horrific semi-human things
Yeah.
up in the
that's
sky.
right. That's a different thing though. I was talking
Pretty hardcore book. Man.
It is.
I think I
Yeah.
was talking about either third Enoch. I think it was third Enoch or second Enoch.
The fires of hell are the powerhouses
Right, because
of the cell. Very good.
Right. Those beings that you're referencing weren't in heaven. They were like
I know it was
at
in
the
a vision.
firmament.
Yeah, I know it was like in a vision while he was in that heaven.
He was going up. He was going up,
Oh, that's right. He
And
was
then
okay.
going past the firmament, and he saw them like at the firmament. That doesn't mean that they're in heaven. They're just at like the precipice of heaven. Right. So, like the actual
Those books were entertaining.
Yes.
you
Yes.
know? But I don't think we don't get much like, multiple heaven stuff in the Bible.
No, we don't. But it was a thing in rabbinic Judaism.
Yeah.
So that I mean, in all fairness, would be known to anyone contemporary in Jesus' time, right? Because there's already the Sanhedrin, which is operating presumably in accordance with some, at least early form of the Gemara and Mishnah. I mean, definitely the Mishnah.
Yeah.
Right. So, continuing on here. Therefore doth my Father love me, because I lay down my life, that I might take it again. No man taketh it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. This commandment have I received of my Father. Okay, that is the end of this section of Jesus' speech. Now, I do want to point out that there is something relevant there. So, some people may say, like, the Jews killed Jesus, right?
Right, yeah, but
or
he's
like
saying,
the Romans killed Jesus. No, Jesus killed himself.
Well,
he
no,
says
it's
outright
his command
that
he had to essentially, like, I guess he's the one that's ultimately in command, but he's like letting them do it.
right.
Yeah.
He says, "No man is taking my life from me.
Yeah.
I am giving my life."
Yeah.
Right. And the consequence of that is that no one killed Jesus. It was Jesus' choice to die. He actively made the decision to die after receiving some commandment from God. Right. So,
Yeah.
just doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense because, as you know, after the Last Supper, he goes up that mountain and he starts to pray and basically beg God to change his mind.
That is true.
So
but maybe that'll be different in this one.
Maybe. We'll get there eventually. There was a division, therefore, again among the Jews for these sayings, and many of them said, "He hath a devil, and is mad. Why hear ye him?" Others said, "These are not the words of him that hath a devil. Can a devil open the eyes of the blind?" And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication, and it was winter. And Jesus walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. Then came the Jews round about him, and said unto him, How long dost thou make us to doubt? If thou be the Christ, tell us plainly.
That would be nice.
Also,
Just saying.
Solomon's porch or Solomon's colonnade.
Portico of Solomon.
Yeah, it was a roofed structure, somewhat similar to a Greek stos, commonly but erroneously thought to date back to Solomon's time. So,
Classic.
yes, this would not be literally Solomon's. Also, the festival of dedication would have been Hanukkah, commemorating the rededication of the temple after its desecration by the Seleucid king Antiochus IV. It's unclear how this feast was observed in the 1st century. And we know how it's observed now.
That's accurate. I think I kind of go over it in no, I don't. That's a different thing. Never mind. But no, we did definitely cover it while we were reading Maccabees.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure.
Yeah, which someday we may even do 3rd and 4th Maccabees.
Yeah.
We could.
Mm-hmm. So they ask, if you're the Christ, tell us plainly. Jesus answered them, I told you, and ye believed not. The works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness of me. But ye believe not, because ye are not of my sheep, as I said unto you. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And I give unto them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall any man pluck them out of my hand. My Father, which gave them me, is greater than all, and no man is able to pluck them out of my Father's hand.
Wait, hold on. How's the translation that you have in verse 29? Can you read it again?
My Father, which gave them me, is greater than all.
Oh, this is interesting. I have my Father who has given them to me.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's being said.
Gave them me?
Yeah, it's just like an old Englishism.
Well, I would say that, like, if I said, like, I gave someone me, then, like, they would receive me. I would be
right,
the thing that's being given. But in this case, they are being given to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
That's why I'm curious.
It's bad. It's bad.
On the translation issue.
It should feel bad about how bad it is.
I mean, if anything, I
But
can
it makes
just
sense.
I can just check the Greek. But I'm gonna see if they have any note
why
on
don't
this
you
at
just
all.
pull up the Greek then?
Okay, fine, I will. That was what, verse 29, right?
Yeah, verse 29. I'm pretty sure it's just an old Englishism.
Okay, I don't know if you could have another copy there. You can check, but I'll still check 29.
Oh, God.
All right. Let's see, verse 29. Yeah, my Father. Yeah, it's to me. Yeah, it's to me. Okay.
And the New King James which we haven't had a lot of use out of.
No, not much. Yeah, but it's a dative form there, so to me makes sense.
Right. The New King James says, "My Father who has given them to me." Right. So I'm pretty sure that this is just an old Englishism, and that the language was updated there in the New King James to reflect modern usage. Anyways, now I have an interesting verse. 6 words, 1 verse. I and my Father are one. So you wanted to say that...
Yeah, that's definitely...
that the Gospel of John wasn't that on the nose.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, at least Trinitarian-wise, because we haven't had much on the Spirit, right?
Right, we haven't had much on the Spirit. But this is very directly saying A and not A are both A.
So yeah, you and... me and my Father are my own. That's the translation there?
No, I and my Father are one.
Are one. Okay.
Yeah. Where did you get my own?
Yeah, why did I say my own? I don't know. I think I'm just like looking through stuff and that was popped up. Yeah, I and the Father are one. Yeah.
Yep.
So that is certainly an interesting verse, but I guess it does fall in line with that same kind of
right.
Same kind of idea that we got back in verse 1, right?
So Jesus reiterates his unity with God, which the Jews see as blasphemy. The Gospels Jews apparently take this statement as an indication that Jesus is making himself equal to God. In the context of the Gospel, this unity may also, or instead, refer to the singleness of purpose. Since Jesus does the Father's will, they work as one through Jesus' activity in the world. Right. So,
yeah, because it seems like the commentators are at least fairly unified that they are not talking about one person. It is precisely on the basis of this presupposition that verse 30 can be understood. I and the Father are one, and that's talking about, my Father who has given them to me is greater than all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the presupposition that's working there. Jesus and the Father are not a single person. That would require ace there, the preposition. But one, so that Jesus does just what God does. John, is a representative of an expressly subordinationist Christology. But precisely because Jesus refuses to speak and act on his own in order to subordinate himself completely to the will of the Father, can the one having faith see the Father in him. Although the Father is greater than the Son, Jesus can therefore say, I and the Father are one.
Next verse. Then the Jews took up stones again to stone him. Interesting here. Stoning is the prescribed penalty for blasphemy in Leviticus 24:16 and in Sanhedrin 7:4. It's difficult to know, however, what constituted blasphemy in the first century. The context suggests...
Probably a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. The context suggests that Jesus' utterances here and elsewhere are seen by the Johannine Jews as a violation of the fundamental belief in one unique God. Sanhedrin 7:5 states that the death sentence by stoning applies only to cases in which someone has uttered the tetragrammaton and in which that person has been warned by 2 witnesses prior to the transgression. In the Talmud, Sanhedrin 56a, Rabbi Meir extends the punishment to cases where the blasphemer has used one of the attributes, i.e., substitute names of God. There is no evidence that anyone ever was executed for this blasphemy.
Huh.
Yep.
Well, how about that?
Yeah, so that's interesting there. This does not fall in line with the Talmud's recollection of when it's appropriate to stone someone to death for blaspheming.
Well, see, this is a much nicer time, marginally.
But wasn't it also the case, as we've talked about before, that the executions for violating the religious law were removed by the Romans when they got into power, and that you had to go through the Roman courts?
Well, you definitely have to go through the Roman courts anyways to do something like that.
So,
at this time.
like, him just talking and then them taking stones up to attack him would not be in line with Jewish law. Or at least would not be in line with the law of the region at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And also would not be in line with what the Talmud says you are supposed to do, because he didn't use the Tetragrammaton, and also because he was not given warning beforehand by two people.
True, because we get the like the end of the narrative, right? Like he is given that kind of chance to defend himself, and he's brought to the Sanhedrin.
Yeah. Jesus answered them, "Many good works have I showed you from my Father. For which of these works do ye stone me?" The Jews answered him, saying, "For a good work we stone thee not, but for blasphemy, and because that thou, being a man, makest thyself God." Jesus answered them, "Is it not written in your law, I said ye are gods?"
Oh yeah, this is where we get to Psalm 82. If you remember, that's the one with that maintains that polytheistic early Israelite religious theme.
Yeah, Psalm 82.
That's the one with the council
6.
of gods. Yeah.
Yep. 82 verse 6.
Yeah. So Psalm 82:6 is cited as testimony that God has already called men gods. That's a lot of copium. Sorry,
course.
author
Also,
of John. That's a lot of copium.
Whereas usually, when they refer to the law, they're referring specifically to the Pentateuch. Here, they're referring to the entirety of the Old Testament as the law.
Yeah.
Which would be uncommon. Probably actually shows that John has a poor understanding of how these terminology would actually be used.
Yeah.
Or the author of John, rather, not John himself.
Yeah. So that's yeah, sorry, man.
Yeah. So the law can refer not only to the Torah but also other writings, such as Psalms that became part of the Jewish canon. Psalm 82:6 reads, "I say you are God's children of the Most High, all of you. Nevertheless, you shall die like mortals and fall like any prince." While the psalm is referring to judges as gods, Jesus uses this verse to counter the charge that he has blasphemed. If mortals such as judges can be called gods, why is it blasphemy for Jesus or others to call him God? I think that that's incorrect. When we read Psalm 82, it was very clear that they were using a divine council narrative that was common in the ancient Near East.
Yeah, and the thing is, in either case, you would have God saying that. And if you don't think Jesus has the authority to say that he is God, it doesn't matter what he cites.
Right. And I mean, I find it curious that this is written by Amy Jill Levine and a couple other people, but that they would interpret this as referring to human judges in Psalm 82, 82, verse 6. Right? Because it was very clearly referring to
a council of gods.
Council of gods.
Sorry, it was very clear, and pretty much every commentator we read agreed with that.
Yeah. Say ye of him whom the Father hath sanctified and sent out into the world, thou blasphemest, because I said I am the Son of God. If I do not the works of my Father, believe me not. But if I do, though ye believe not me, believe the works, that ye may know and believe that the Father is in me and I in him. Therefore they sought again to take him. But he escaped out of their hand and went away again beyond Jordan into the place where John at first baptized, and there he abode. And many resorted unto him, and said, John did no miracle, but all things that John spake of this man were true. and many believed on him there. And that's the end of chapter 10.
Hey, if you guys are enjoying the stream so far, make sure you drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, all that classic YouTube stuff that YouTubers tell you to do to help the algorithm. Because more engagement...
help us. Don't help the algorithm.
Holy shit, that was close.
Not again.
To help the algorithm see us.
There's a fold.
To help us see the algorithm. Yeah, I see the folds.
No, it's just funny how many times the reading had the word fold in it today as well.
Also, yes. To help the algorithm see us. That is the purpose of all that stuff. And more engagement means more views. That is just a fact.
So type your chats, send us all your money in like individual donation. Like if you're gonna donate $10, send us 10 donations of $1.
Because then YouTube gets more and we get less. Yeah, thanks.
I mean, either way, it's still percentage based, so it wouldn't matter.
Yeah,
but
it wouldn't matter.
That's how percentages work.
It would be technically more engagement.
It would, yes.
Yeah, and that would help us with the algorithm.
Wow. Either way, how about we hop into this next section? I believe I should probably take this one, right? That's my part. That's my reading portion.
Generally, how it has been working.
Yeah, so we'll hop into chapter 11 here. This is where we get Lazarus stuff. Look at that.
Yeah, we are getting the dude himself, Lazarus, Greek form of Eleazar.
Oh, okay, yeah, like the priest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Now, a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha, which... Have we already talked about Martha in John?
Not really.
I don't remember if we have.
I don't think so.
Welcome back to town, Justin. And welcome back to the show. I'm glad that we're all here for it.
And last time we had a mention of Mary and Martha. It was in Luke.
It was in Luke. Okay. All right. So, it was Mary who anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair. Weird tradition there. Whose brother Lazarus was ill. Oh, so that's her brother. Okay. So the sisters sent to him, saying, Lord, he whom you love is ill. But when Jesus heard it, he said, this illness does not lead to death. It is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it.
Yeah, apparently Lazarus is sick because it gives Jesus a chance to cure him.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
This predicting of the raising of Lazarus, since Jesus already knew of his death, occurs here. So he already knows that he's dead, right? As Lazarus gets raised from the dead. In fact, Lazarus must have died shortly after the messengers left Bethany, accounting for the 4 days of verses 17 and 39. 1 day for the journey of the messengers, the 2 days when Jesus remained where he was, and a day for Jesus' journey to Bethany. But see the note on verse 17. We'll get there eventually.
We will get there eventually. All right.
Yes, because many Jews believed that the soul remained near the body for 3 days after death in the hope of returning to it. If this idea was in the minds of the people, they obviously would think that all hope is lost after the 3rd day is passed, because Lazarus would be irrevocably dead.
Oh, okay then.
So we'll get to that.
All right. Yeah, so he's going to have a chance to bring this guy back. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. Then, after this, he said to the disciples, "Let us go to Judea again." The disciples said to him, "Rabbi, the Jews were just now seeking to stone you, and you're going to go there again?" Jesus answered, "Are there not 12 hours in the day?"
I don't know.
Enough time for what must be done, but
right.
No time for waste.
If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble, but he sees the light of this world. But if anyone walks in the night, he stumbles because the light is not in him.
Wow.
Yeah, when you can see, you can walk. When you can't see, I mean, you have trouble walking. That is true. You need a little bit of help
Learn echolocation. Everyone can do it.
there. I don't think so.
Go read online, Lawrence. You're wrong. Anyone can do it.
Have you done it?
I learned it first.
Did
out
you?
Of this group. Yeah, I already knew how to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm doing it now.
No, you're not.
Okay, well.
Your eyes are literally open.
You could do it with your eyes open, stupid.
But you wouldn't need to.
Yeah,
And that
well,
would not be a demonstration of
why
it
do
because your
bats
eyes
do
are
both?
open.
In fact,
Why
that
do
would be
dolphins do both?
Probably because there's very low visibility underwater, the murky depths of the ocean.
No, I'm just saying, like, yeah, I mean, all mammals can, guys. It's not like a us thing, okay?
Perhaps it's just a you thing.
No, just the way our
Maybe
ears
you're
developed.
incredibly special, Chris.
No, shut up. Even Ruben knows how to do it.
Not deaf animals. They can't
Oh, you're right.
do it.
Yeah, he got you.
Either way,
Imagine being a deaf bat.
that would suck. I mean, I thought maybe they have.
They have eyes.
Yeah, their vision's
Yeah, but
not as
they're-
bad as people say it is. It isn't. We're not saying it's like amazing.
It's not really good vision.
No, it's
my
better than
understanding.
ours. Ours isn't the best, guys.
I know ours isn't the best, but
Ours is great. We have 3 kinds of cones.
That's pathetic. There are little crustaceans with
listen,
thousands.
I don't know about about how good the eyes of different creatures are.
Yeah,
So
well, they evolved 7 independent times, and I know quite a bit about it. So let's go move on.
yes, you're the smartest man on earth.
No, I'm just informed about this one specific thing. Can we get over that? Thanks.
So either way, after saying these things, he said to them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I go to awaken him."
So
Now
this is a common thing that pops up.
Yeah, this is exactly what happened with I think
That
it was,
girl.
Yeah, with that girl. I think it was Elijah, right? I think it was Elijah. It may have been Elisha. I forget which one it was. But yeah, back in the Old Testament, there was, I'm just getting the whole story
For
wrong.
sleeping and
But
awakening,
he's like he says that she is asleep, but like the understanding is that she's actually dead. So he's like, no, she's just asleep, and then he wakes her up. But that's a miracle for, I don't know.
Well, that occurs in the Jesus story directly. It's that there's a girl
Yeah,
that
but also
Jesus says is asleep.
this specific, the one that I'm thinking of too.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. It would make sense if it happened again.
Sleeping and waking are also common metaphors for death and resurrection. So
Yes.
Yeah. So happened multiple times. There we go. So either way, they're gonna go wake him up. The disciples said to him, "Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he will recover." Now Jesus had spoken of his death, but they thought that he meant taking rest in sleep. See, this is the problem with someone always speaking in parables and metaphors. They're not going to know when to actually take something literally.
Yeah, it's like you're not screaming for help when you're in quicksand. You're getting pulled down, and you're just giving parables and metaphors. Like, I could be drowned at any moment, and you sure could. Do you need help? It's
well,
not
he
asking
clarifies it pretty quickly here.
Does he? Okay. Then Jesus told them plainly,
for-
"Oh,
he
great.
so rarely does this.
Lazarus has died. And for your sake, I am glad that I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him." So Thomas, called the twin, said to his fellow disciples, "Let us also go, that we may die with him."
So Thomas called the twin.
Yeah.
The twin here is Didymos. But there's a couple of things about Thomas called the twin.
Yeah, so this is, I believe, was that supposed to be the Gospel of Thomas guy?
I don't know.
That's supposed to be
I
him?
don't know, but the Hebrew word for which we get Thomas and the Greek word Didymos both mean twin. We usually remember Thomas for his doubting. A doubting Thomas.
Yeah, doubting Thomas. That's right. Yeah.
He was also capable of devotion and courage. Now, Thomas, while the other disciples feared Jesus' life should he return to Judea, Thomas demonstrates his loyalty and faithfulness by urging the disciples both respect and that the disciples both respect his decision to go and stand by him, even if it means dying. Thomas may be a translation for the Hebrew word for twin. So this may be like a Rosetta Stone type situation where both Thomas and Didymus both are the same term.
Well, so I am going to read off this section here.
Okay.
Unfortunately, there's I mean, I could always just check the Greek, but okay. So Thomas, Thomas, is an authentic Greek name used readily by Jews as a translation of the Aramaic name twin. Thomas appears in the Synoptics in multiple places and the Gospel of John multiple times. The segment 20, 24 through 28 is a later insertion into the source. In it, Thomas overcomes his budding doubt in the resurrection when he is convinced as one of the disciples of the mundane character of the resurrection by confirmation of the wound in Jesus' side. The evangelist regards faith that originates in that way as of little value. In the Christian and Gnostic Syrian traditions, Thomas the twin is identified with Jesus' brother Judas, according to the Abgar legend. Quote, Thomas, one of the 12 apostles, sent to Thaddeus of Edessa, but according to the Syrian report, Judas, who is called Thomas, sent Thaddeus to Abgar. The designation Judas Thomas, who is also called Didymus, appears occasionally in the Acts of Thomas. In Gnosticism, Thomas was the spiritual brother of Jesus, so also in the Gospel of Thomas in the introduction. The words of Thomas in verse 16 give expression to his fidelity. At the same time, there is an undertone of resignation that betrays the blindness of this disciple to the power of Jesus. In the third place, however, there lies hidden in this saying of Thomas the truth that the way to Bethany will lead ultimately to the death of Jesus. The possibility that this inspired the insertion of verses 7 through 10 is not excluded. That's what I have to say on that.
All right. Well, keep going, Hal.
All right. So they're all going to go die with him. Yeah, there you go. Foreshadowing. Now, when Jesus came, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days.
Yeah, according to some
in the tomb.
Rabbinic sources, e.g. Genesis Rabbah 50:10, and Zoroastrianism, the spirit hovers near the body for 3 days.
Yeah, so 4 days, it's too late.
Yep.
Which is interesting. Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles off, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them concerning their brother. So when Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, but Mary remained seated in the house. Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you. Jesus said to her, Your brother will rise again.
So what Martha says here is also repeated by Mary in verse 32. Perhaps the sisters had said this to one another often as they awaited Jesus' arrival.
Yeah, this is the thing that they would say all the time. God will give anything to that Jesus guy.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of talking about, I mean, yeah, they're still technically kind of talking about their dead brother, but in a very weird way. Mm-hmm. Either way, so he wouldn't have died if Jesus was around. Jesus said to her, Your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection I was. That is so easily memeable.
Yeah.
Like, I am the resurrection in the last day.
Yeah. Wow, look at you.
Yeah, no, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? She said to him, Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world.
So I do want to point something out, that many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother.
Sure.
Right? Now, this implies a somewhat ritualized mourning observance, though it's unclear whether the formal practice of sitting Shiva, observing a week of home-based mourning, during which time others console mourners, was already in existence. The Jews' presence here is dissonant with the fear of exclusion from the synagogue ascribed to the parents in 9:22. If you remember in verse 9, or chapter 9, verse 22, his parents said this because they were afraid of the Jews, for the Jews had already agreed that anyone who confessed Jesus to be the Messiah would be put out of the synagogue.
Okay.
So this would be very uncommon and very odd.
Oh, so there's apparently the addition here or potential addition of and the life. So the omission of it from several witnesses is puzzling. Was it added in the great mass of witnesses in anticipation of the thought expressed by the following will live and the one who lives? Or was it omitted perhaps by accident, or because verse 24 mentions only the resurrection? The longer reading, followed by most modern versions, except the New Jerusalem Bible, is accepted on the basis of the age, value, and diversity of witnesses, which include these words. And also, Klaus, thank you for the $4.99.
Thank you, Klaus. How much of John was made up by John? You get the feeling he was making up stuff as he wrote it. So,
well, if we're talking about a historical John, it would be different. If we're talking about John as in the author of John, then
none of the Gospel of John was written by historical John. In fact,
but if we're saying, if when he says John, he means whoever wrote John. Well, we will. I mean, I'm fine with tentatively calling that author John.
Well, I mean,
while not acknowledging that it's actually John.
Well, like, I don't think that the gospel itself makes the point to claim that it's written by John either, because it just doesn't. That's just a conclusion that people have come to.
Yeah, I understand that.
Based off of it. But like the author of John, as opposed to later interjections by editors,
Yeah, so aside from the, so there is, a chunk that was written, later and inserted in there. We covered that last week pretty in depth on one of the biggest insertions, the Pericope Adulterae. And for the rest of it, I think that the author already had this idea of Jesus and what Jesus meant to him. So he had used probably some already existing traditions about Jesus in his own community and wrote them down in such a way that was able to relate him to the people or events that he had to be related to show some divinity.
And certainly Mark already existed by this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Q.
Although it's not entirely clear how much he would have gotten from those sources, because this is the one that's different. This is not a synoptic gospel.
Right. So he probably heard some stories, at least at some point, if it already existed and people were already talking about it. But like the degree to which it's actually like the author's writing, I think that it is pretty consistently the author's writing throughout, because of the consistency with which he refers to the Jews, right? That's a constant theme throughout the Gospel of John.
Yeah, there's some stuff here and there that we can in fact say are like interpolations, or,
Right. Like the pericope adultery is like a huge insertion.
That's a big one. Yeah, that's like a glaring one.
As
like,
for making stuff up, like when he names Bethany here, he's like geographically correct when he says it's like a couple miles from Jerusalem.
Sure.
Right. So there are points in here where like he'll go out of his way to add additional details to make things more accurate. But there's also points where it's just questionable, like when he refers to a psalm as the law.
Yeah, or when he says when he is talking about like, a conversation that was had between two people that we obviously know he wasn't there for. It's not entirely clear if you would have access to that knowledge or that information of what was said and who said it. You just kind of know what maybe happened afterwards. So there is certainly exaggerations, but I think that makes sense for ancient writings in general when you're trying to do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue reading.
Will do. I was here in this book. So they're, consoling, or he just said that, he's going to bring him back. And she's like, "Yes, I believe you." So when she had said this, she went and called her sister Mary, saying in private, "The teacher is here and is calling for you." And when she heard it, she rose quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come into the village, but was still in the place where Martha had met him.
So the designation of teacher is a significant description given by a woman. Rabbis would not teach women, but Jesus taught them frequently.
Yeah, and if we're doing the whole, let's say it would have been Lazarus, right? Like I don't know how closely you would believe this part of the narrative here. So it could have been Lazarus, let's say, but then he wouldn't have been dead, I guess, because in order to hear the conversation that was being had while he's dead, he would have to be alive. So like that's the kind of stuff that I mean. And plus there was a bunch of stuff that happened when Jesus was like far away, and then he would come back eventually. So while it's clear that he worked closely with, or while he was closely associated with Mary and Martha, or even with the temple, he wasn't following Jesus around on his journeys and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm not entirely sure how much information could have been retained that way, reliably speaking. So either way, yeah, okay, so now Jesus had not yet come into the village, but was still in the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who were with her in the house, consoling her, saw Mary rise quickly and go out, they followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to weep there.
Which may refer to ritualistic weeping at a tomb, which is referred to in Sirach 38:16 through 18. Though this is easily explained on the grounds of emotions, separate from any mourning ritual.
Sure, yeah. Now,
feelings.
When Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet, saying to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled. And he said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus wept. So the Jews said, See how he loved him." But some of them said, Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man also have kept this man from dying? Well, yeah, from what we've learned about Jesus so far, he could have. Then this is on to the next section where we finally get the rising of Lazarus, the namesake for this episode.
Whoa.
Yeah, right? It's crazy. Then Jesus, deeply moved again, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone lay against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, by this time there will be an odor, for he has been dead 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you?" What?
Move it.
Okay. Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? So they took away the stone. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me. But I said this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" The man who had died came out, his hands and feet bound with linen strips, and his face wrapped with a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." Well, that's just, full on resurrection. Good for Jesus, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if there are any extra notes on that. I feel like there should be. If there aren't, you know what I mean?
So in the first century, Jews were buried in linen shrouds.
Sure.
Corpses were laid in a sealed tomb so that the flesh would decompose. After 11 months, the tomb would be unsealed and the bones would be placed in an ossuary, a bone box, and stored on a shelf in the tomb.
A bone box.
Bone box.
That's kind of cool,
Yeah.
I think.
Kind of creepy.
A little bit, but creepy things are cool.
Sometimes.
I mean, I think that's why we listen to Mr. Ballin, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got me there.
All right. So here's Lazarus. He is back. Many of the Jews, therefore, who had come with Mary, had seen what he did, believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. You'd think that if you have a bunch of people who just saw this miracle, a whole bunch of attestations to this, and why are the Pharisees gonna get all mad about it? Because they're like, this guy apparently can raise the dead. That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a whole bunch of people within our community that saw it. It is true that they are just kind of telling on him.
Mary and this guy at Fatima.
Wow. So let's see what they want to do about it. Probably nothing good. Bringing
people back from the dead, that's illegal.
It's bad. It's necromancy.
Yeah,
Necromancy.
Necromancy's illegal,
It
guys.
is banned.
Yeah. But he didn't touch the body or anything. So
Right.
yeah, so he should be fine. Copium. So the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered the council and said, "What are we to do? For this man performs many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and the Romans will come and take away both our place and our nation." But, I mean, it's Jesus. You'd think that he would have, if he has the power to raise the dead, he would have the power to do something about the Romans.
Yeah,
Especially if you all start believing that he was God, you shouldn't have to worry about something like that, right?
Yeah, so the chief priests and the Pharisees is perhaps the Sanhedrin. If so, the reference to Pharisees is puzzling, as they had no authority to convene a meeting at the Sanhedrin. Another indication of John's lack of interest, or perhaps lack of knowledge, in differentiating precisely among Jewish groups.
Oh, that's also a good point there. Good point there, Jason. But I would say that, that it is true that it says that. That's a good citation there. However, a person rising from the dead to me is way more convincing than just reading the Moses and the prophets.
Yeah, or a book of any kind.
Yeah, if I saw someone who was dead
For 4 days.
for 4 days, who was rotting, and then he just kind of, I
Got
guess, reformed a little bit. Anything that was decaying and then came back to life.
Yeah,
I'd
that'd
be
be
more.
pretty
I'd be far more convinced by that.
Yeah.
Or at least interesting. I don't know. I'm a hyper skeptic. Nothing convinces, but it'd be interesting. It'd be very.
That would
interesting.
be way on the scale of convincing.
Sure.
It would be way higher than just the book.
I guess nothing could be perfect, but yeah, sure.
Yeah. So let's continue there. Where was I? Right. So they're arguing about what they're going to do about Jesus. But one of them, Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing at all, nor do you understand that it is better for you that one man should die for the people, not that the whole nation should perish."
So,
this is where he's plotting, yeah.
So, Caiaphas. And what did you just finish reading? Verse 50?
Yes, that was verse 50.
Okay, so Caiaphas, high priest, circa AD 18 through 36. He was the son-in-law of Annas, who had been deposed from the high priesthood by the Romans in AD 15. Being the high priest that year means high priest at that time. The high priesthood was not an annual office, but one supposed to be held for life. When he says, "You know nothing at all," this is remark typical of Sadducean rudeness. Caiaphas, as high priest, was a Sadducee. Josephus says that the Sadducees, in their intercourses with their peers, are as rude as two aliens. Though there's no reference to where specifically in Josephus here. Now, when Caiaphas says that this is better, Caiaphas says he's not concerned with, he's concerned with political expediency, not with guilt or innocence. He believed that one man, no matter how innocent, should perish rather than the nation being put in jeopardy. Ironically, the Jews went ahead with their execution of Jesus, and in AD 70, the nation still perished.
Yeah, that is interesting. Maybe because he came back, and they were like, "Oh, hey, Jesus guy is back again. We're gonna destroy you anyways." I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's continue on here. Well, yeah, they're beginning to plot. So, he did not say this of his own accord, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the nation.
Yeah, and this is not a prediction of the future, but it means that his death would be for the nation. It would be an impartation of divinely revealed truth, right? So it's not a prediction; it's just saying,
right. It would be
the intention of God.
Yeah,
right. Which Caiaphas, as high priest, would
be receiving that. Yeah,
he would be able to convey that information.
And not for the nation only, but also to gather into one the children of God who are scattered abroad. So from that day on, they made plans to put him to death. Jesus therefore no longer walked openly among the Jews, but went from there to the region near the wilderness, to a town called Ephraim.
Yes, 12 miles northeast of Jerusalem.
Yeah, that was, I believe, if I'm not wrong, it was a very popular, it was like a big cultural hub, I think, Ephraim.
If it was the city known as Ophrah, it was about 15 miles north of Jerusalem. We're not sure exactly.
So,
city it
interpreters
was.
have often puzzled over the city of Ephraim. Let's see. I've reviewed Gilding's attempt to explain the mention of such a city. The reader is referred to that review. Josephus mentions a town called Ephraim, close to Bethel, which Billerbeck wants to identify with the grain-rich Shepharim, which is called Ephraim in the Mishnah. On the other hand, Sagan has in mind a village lying not far from Baal Hazor, which is perhaps the same place as Afirma, mentioned in 1 Maccabees 11:34. Dahlman advises that it is, quote, the village that today is called Et Taibe, or Taibe, I don't know, about 7 kilometers northeast of Bethel. The name undergoes further change in the tradition. Manuscript D, I would think, is what is meant here. So I think that's a Codex Bezae, speaks of a Korah, Samfurin. So that would be land Samfurin, I guess. There's not really that's a name. Which is a Sepphoris. Chrysostom offers Ephrata as a word for it. Hirsch believes that a place name following country, which would be Korah, but yeah, land country, became corrupted and can no longer be reconstructed. All right, then. So uncertainty surrounds it.
Right.
We know what continent it was on, right, guys?
I think it was Australia. Two. Yeah, that's right. Two. That was the good answer. 2. So they're going to Ephraim, and there he stayed with the disciples. Now the Passover of the Jews was at hand, and many went up from the country to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. They were looking for Jesus and saying to one another as they stood in the temple, "What do you think? That he will not come to the feast at all?" Now the chief priests and the Pharisees had given orders that if anyone knew where he was, he should let them know, so that they might arrest him. So they have this, they're having this festival, right? This Passover feast. They're doing something. This is in preparation for the Passover, it looks like. And they're trying to catch Jesus. But that is, of course, the end of chapter 11. If you guys are enjoying the stream so far, make sure you drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, any engagement. And speaking of engaging things...
Hey, Lawrence, do you hear something?
I do hear something, and it's engaging me.
Behold, I am your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and I want to let all you heathens and sinners know that I support this wonderful episode of Atheist Sunday School. Lawrence and Reuben try their very best to bring you the true glory of the Bible, and they need your help. They have provided links to their Patreon page and other social media just for you. Once again, my name is Jesus Christ, and this is Milwaukee Atheists. The Lord is with them. God bless.
Oh my God, Jesus! Hey, man, thank you for stopping by. It's good to see you. You're always such a nice guy when you come in here. I'm sorry about all the people plotting against you, especially that Caiaphas guy. You know, he seems like the real cause behind it. Because I feel like you got off on the wrong foot with that guy. He's kind of paranoid, don't you think? Okay, well, I guess I'm here alone. But it seems you have taken Reuben. Perhaps you have taken him to hopefully to Ephraim. I would like to know more about it. So maybe when Reuben gets back, he'll tell me more about his trip to Ephraim, which I am very confident he is on. So don't worry, I'm shouting for no reason. Anyways, so we're getting into chapter 12 here. This is the anointing at Bethany. That is the next section that we are going over. This scene belongs to that material in the Gospel of John that has parallels in the Synoptics, which are kind of few and far between. So Mark 14, Matthew 26, and Luke 7. And look who has returned.
Verily, verily, I say unto you, I hath arrived.
So where were you at?
Ephraim.
Ephraim. Oh man, guys, I knew he went to Ephraim.
Somewhere 10 to 20 miles out of Jerusalem.
Wow, that is very impressive. And you got back in time.
Yep.
Okay, well,
Of course it did. I had to ritually purify myself for the Passover.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, that's we got a ways to go for that.
Yep.
So good thing you're getting it done now, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just getting ready in advance.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I'm going to hop into chapter 12. Unless
Fantastic.
you want to keep talking about stuff.
No. It was just that this actually does share
ramble.
similarities in the synoptics.
Oh. Well, I also want to point out that John is 21 chapters long. So, as of this point right now, we are more than halfway through.
Great.
Chapter 12. Then Jesus, 6 days before the Passover. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's still before the Passover.
Yeah. Sometimes they capitalize it. Here it's not capitalized.
Oh, okay.
Then Jesus, 6 days before the Passover, came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, which had been dead, whom he raised from the dead. There they made him a supper, and Martha served, but Lazarus was one of them that sat at the table with him. Then took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly, and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair.
Yeah.
And the house was filled with the odor of the ointment.
What an interesting tradition that is.
Yeah.
Like, because we've had that kind of same anointing scene before, but I don't remember hair being included.
Well, I guess it
Have
would
a
just be
good day,
waste.
Jason. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, have a good day. But it would just be a waste for him to like walk, and the oil would get all over the floor, and so like she wipes it with her hair, and then she has the spikenard fragrance, I guess.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. Then saith one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, which should betray him, why was not this ointment sold for 300 pence and given to the poor? This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief and he had the bag and bare what was put therein. Wow.
That's pretty good.
Incredible.
I like how the author of John here is like, yeah, he didn't say it because he cares about the poor. He said it because he's being a dick.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Then said Jesus, let her alone. Against the day of my burying hath she kept this. For the poor always ye have with you, but me ye have not always. Much people of the Jews therefore knew that he was there. And they came not for Jesus' sake only, but that they might see Lazarus also, whom he had raised from the dead.
Yeah, I would also want to see Lazarus there.
Yeah. But the chief priests consulted that they might put Lazarus also to death.
Oh, wow.
He just got back, guys.
That is so unfortunate.
Yep. Because that by reason of him, many of the Jews went away and believed on Jesus. On the next day, much people that were come to the feast, when they heard that Jesus was coming to Jerusalem, took branches of palm trees and went forth to meet him and cried, Hosanna! Blessed is the King of Israel that cometh in the name of the Lord. And Jesus, when he had found a young ass, sat thereon, as it is written, Fear not, daughter of Zion, behold!
Behold! That's our first behold of the day,
Yeah.
right?
Right?
Yeah.
Thy king cometh, sitting on an ass's colt.
Yes.
These things understood not his disciples at the first. But when Jesus was glorified, then remembered they that these things were written of him, that they had done these things unto him.
Yeah, so that was I think it was in Zechariah, if I am remembering that properly, where it talks about him riding in on.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, is why he, at least in the other Gospels, commanded his followers to go steal a donkey.
Yeah, he did. He did say that.
And he's like, If anyone asks you why you're taking the donkey, just say that it's because the Lord needs it.
Right, yeah, and they just take it. Yeah. So, I mean, thanks for that one, I guess. In fact, those other gospels did seem... They had a lot of interesting stuff in there because one of the ones that always sticks in my head is when everyone is, there are a whole bunch of people surrounding Jesus' home, and there's this one dude who's sick, right? But his friends, in order to get him in there, they have to Mission Impossible his way in from the roof.
Right.
Yeah, that always amused me.
Right. The people, therefore, that was with him when he called Lazarus out of his grave and raised him from the dead bear record. For this cause the people also met him, for that they heard that he had done this miracle. The Pharisees, therefore, said among themselves, Perceive ye how prevail nothing? Behold!
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 The world is gone after him. And there were certain Greeks among them that came up to worship at the feast. The same came therefore to Philip, which was of Bethsaida of Galilee, and desired him, saying, Sir, we would see Jesus. Philip cometh and telleth Andrew, and again Andrew and Philip tell Jesus. And Jesus answered them, saying, The hour is come that the Son of Man should be glorified. Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. He that loveth his life shall lose it, and he that hateth his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal. If any man serve me, let him follow me, and where I am, there shall also my servant be. If any man serve me, him will my Father honor. Now is my soul troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour. But for this cause came I unto this hour.
Yeah, so it seems this section is it's pretty much the same idea we've had in other gospels, where if life sucks for you now, then you will essentially be you'll be fine in the next one. Like, you will be in a good place.
Well, those people who love life
Are the ones
who love the material world.
Yeah, there you go.
Are the ones who do not receive eternal life. And those who hate the material world, the ones that will receive eternal life. Also, this thing about eternal life, like,
why would you want that? I wouldn't.
Right. Well, we've talked about like the Christian idea of hell before, as like an eternal suffering ground. Right. But it's very clearly the case that Jesus continually says that, like, the reward for following him is eternal life. That implies that not following him means that you don't have eternal life, whether that's in this world or some world hereafter.
Yeah.
So
remember what?
You wouldn't have eternal suffering in hell because you don't have eternal life.
Yeah, they talk about Sheol, and one of the places in Sheol is just a nothing burger where everything goes to stop being a thing.
Well, they don't talk about Sheol.
Right. But
there are like no references to Sheol in all of
Remember,
it.
They talk about the
spots.
place with the weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Yeah,
right?
weeping and gnashing of teeth. But like that can't be forever because they don't have eternal life.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I could check the Greek, but I'm pretty sure it
the
would just
day
say
of
Beal,
judgment
so.
when God destroys everything again and makes new stuff.
Well, the thing is, it would be, eternal life here on earth in this new heavenly world that he has created.
Okay.
So when it comes to this final grand judgment, the idea initially would have been, you're just dead. You just stay dead. You don't come back for anything. But then it gets to, it kind of comes to a head, and eventually you get the more aggressive interpretations of hell in the afterlife. Also, I believe what's going on here? Who's raising hands? Temporary life over eternal life? Yeah. I would have loved to never be born. But that's perhaps
Wow, so Kohelet.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty Kohelet. Hey, Kohelet's had some pretty good ideas.
I don't know. I think it would have been better if Kohelet were never born.
I think they agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kohelet would agree with me.
Yeah.
Which,
It's weird.
Yep. Can't take it as an insult if you agree with it.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Anyways, Father, glorify thy name. Then came there a voice from heaven saying, I have both glorified it and will glorify it again. So this is one of the few. Okay, hold on. The people, therefore, that stood by and heard it said that it thundered. Others said an angel spake to him. So,
the voice of angels.
This is the first time, I think, well, except for at the end of Matthew, where a messenger shows up. Well, actually, I think that happens twice, where a messenger of the Lord shows up and speaks to the women who are attending the tomb.
Yeah, that's right.
But this is the only instance where, like, God's thundering voice or the thundering voice of an angel comes down and speaks to a whole group of people, at least so far in the Gospels. And that's very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was verse 29,
yes,
right?
29.
Okay, so yeah. Oh, so here we go. Yeah, the crowd standing by heard it, and said
Imagine
that it
God
had
comes down.
thundered.
God comes down from the clouds and says, "Somebody touching my spaghetti."
Oh, that's a good meme.
It is. I'm sorry, I don't know. It's dumb to throw it in here, but
either way,
how I thought.
they're saying that it thundered, right? So, and then others said an angel was spoken to him.
Yes,
So
a rare form of direct revelation called a bat kol, daughter of the voice, or echo in rabbinic Judaism.
So it's distinguishing two groups of people: people who understood what was happening, people who didn't, right? Because some of them would have just described it as thunder, but other people are like, "This is a powerful divine voice here." Right. So. Yeah, so verse 29 emphasizes that the crowd is not permitted to hear the voice of the Father as such, but only perceives that it thundered. Others admit that at most they heard an angel speak. This verse is completely comprehensible as an expression of the fact that God's voice cannot be apprehended as a natural phenomena, as something that can be received and monitored, even though it seems to be happening a lot throughout this whole thing.
Yes.
Verse 30... On the other hand, if you want to read that one.
Well, I'll read 30 through 32.
Okay, yeah.
Jesus answered and said, "This voice came not because of me, but for your sakes. Now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out. And if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me."
What's interesting is yours says if, this translation says when, which there is a way to actually tell if it's a conditional clause or not. So I can check on that.
Yes, check on that. Now, I think what's more interesting is verse 31, where he says outright, "Now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out."
Yeah.
That implies very clearly what would be expected for the actual coming of the Messiah. There is basically one thing that happens when the Messiah comes in Jewish tradition, and that is that Gog and Magog go to war with the Jewish people, and the Messiah comes. And, a Messiah comes, a specific Messiah, descendant of David comes. And, like, this leads to an end of the war where the Jews are successful. There's world peace, and everyone beats their swords into plowshares and gets along with everyone. Now,
this is a conditional clause, by the way.
So, like, that... At that point, after the defeat of Gog and Magog in the Jewish idea of, like, the Messiah, that is when the day of Yahweh occurs. So when Jesus says here that now is the judgment of this world, right? That is the implication that the war with Gog and Magog would soon come to an end, and that the day of Yahweh would very quickly arise, right? Now, presumably, if we want to interpret it this way, then they would be naming the Romans who are occupying them as Gog and Magog, right?
Unless they had a different interpretation for Gog and Magog, right? So I guess I have no idea what their interpretation would have been of that.
Well, Reagan's interpretation is that Russia is Gog and Magog.
I believe that entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And George W. Bush, I think, also referred to Russia as Gog and Magog.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did, honestly.
Yep.
So yeah, the evangelist has perceived this, and in verses 31 forward, gives the answer. Now, in the moment when Jesus is glorified, crucified, the judgment of the world takes place. So in that moment, the ruler of this world, so he's going to be cast out, whoever the rulers are. When Jesus goes to the cross and to death, there is the victory of divine love. So yeah, to what extent is this the case? So yeah, will sin come to an end? War no longer be pursued? Violence, a whole bunch of shitty things happening. Will all that just come to an end? Verse 32 gives an answer.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, and when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all men to myself. The word "all" is here in error. Jesus will draw only those to him whom the Father has given him, and to whom he imparts the Spirit as the one exalted to God. For the evangelist, when he received the Spirit and came to understand and believe in Jesus, it is evident that the cross became the glory. But that would be a manner of speaking. Had it not also applied to his own life. That means he is now able to affirm the shadow of the cross falling across his own life as the divine radiance, and he now lost his fear of the Lord of this world and his power. So instead, the world encompasses each person with a density and intenseness that makes a retreat into pietistic inwardness no longer appear possible. The influence of the powers of state, business, and political parties of the mass media, with their insensible yet all the more effective power, is so great, while the silence of God, out of which the spirit of consolation only seldom appears to erupt for one or the other, is so inexorable and all-embracing that the danger of resignation and even despair is overpowering. So yeah, they're just looking for that utopia.
So, button 1, why would Jesus raise Lazarus? Jesus raises Lazarus because it's an opportunity for him to get a bunch of followers.
Yeah, he even explicitly says that.
Yeah.
So it was a good chance for him to show off what he's got.
Yeah. Also,
even though he could have done that
Lazarus
with
is
a
his
punch.
buddy.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true. That's true. They're very close. I mean, he's Jesus
I
was
think Mary asked him to do it. If not,
both Mary and
Yeah.
Martha. Yeah. Well, they
He
didn't
was
really.
asked.
They didn't ask,
well,
right?
he brought it up.
Yeah, they brought it up and they said, he would have been alive if you were here at the time.
Yeah.
But as for him going to heaven, it's not really clear that the concept of heaven is clear here, right? Like, you don't exactly go to heaven. You die, and then there's the day of Yahweh eventually, and then you're resurrected
into this new world.
Into this new world. So, like, I know that there are different ideas about 7 heavens in rabbinic Judaism, which Jesus would definitely be aware of.
He'd be aware of them, but he seemed to disagree with those guys a lot.
Yeah, he very firmly disagrees with them. Jesus is like a Torah fundamentalist. So, and in the Torah, there's no like heavenly afterlife.
Right, yeah. And I guess at this point he would be more even reform, right? Because it has changed so much that his stance is just so different.
Anyways, this he said, signifying what death he should die. Also, he's wrong about this. Not all men are drawn unto Jesus.
Right. Just those specific people who believe in him.
The people answered him, "We have heard out of the law that Christ abideth forever. And how sayest thou, the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man?" Good question.
That's a good question because the Christ was, of course, a pre-existing figure at this point.
Also, because the Old Testament scripture, the reference may be to passages in Psalms or Isaiah or Daniel. It's not clear. The Son of Man, the only place in the gospel where anyone other than Jesus used the expression is here. And even here, Jesus is being quoted.
Right.
But Son of Man is something that Ezekiel was continually called.
He was, yeah. Only that, really, right? I don't think he was ever actually called by his name by God.
Yeah, God only refers to him as Son of Man.
Yeah.
And so here, this is a legitimate question because Son of Man just means a human being, right? So when they ask, who is this Son of Man? It's like, well, like, just a dude, right? How is it the case that if you're like this everlasting, ever-abiding thing, that you're just like some guy, right? Then Jesus said unto them, "Yet a little while is the light with you. Walk while ye have that light, lest darkness come upon you. For he that walketh in darkness knoweth not whither he goeth. While ye have light, believe in the light, that ye may be the children of light." These things spake Jesus, and departed, and did hide himself from them. But though he had done so many miracles before them, they believed not on him, that the saying of Isaiah the prophet might be fulfilled, which he spake, "Lord, who hath believed our report, and to whom hath the arm of the Lord been revealed?" Wow.
That was just pulled straight out of his ass. So although Jesus has performed many signs before them, wait, hold on. This is oh, interesting. Okay. So yeah, he just kind of that quote from Isaiah.
Yeah, it's a direct quote from the Septuagint text of the Suffering Servant song.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is not about a Messiah.
Yeah.
Right? Not about a future being at all, actually.
Yeah, definitely not about Jesus. That is for sure not about Jesus.
I mean, the suffering servant is like a personification of the Hebrews.
It could be a few things, but yeah, personification of the people in general is mostly how it's taken.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally a song. It's poetry.
Yeah. I mean, well, the thing is, so the servant songs are broken up into different sections because the thing is, the name servant song doesn't appear in the actual text.
Right.
They were just kind of delineated by Robert Dunn, I think, or Doom. I think it was Robert Doom.
Doom,
yeah. Or it may have been pronounced dumb, which is hilarious. But yeah, so he kind of sectioned these off, and he's like, these are talking about, like, you can separate these sections and have them make sense, and it totally could have been possible that they circulated on their own beforehand, or they just didn't. That is also possible. So there are a lot of questions surrounding these servant songs, but either way, yeah. So this would be,
but it is inevitably the case that the servant songs are not prophecies about a future Messiah.
Yeah.
Like,
that is true.
And
because especially because one of the lines in the servant songs says that the servant is already dead. It says that he's already dead and buried.
Yeah. And, you're working on a video.
Yeah.
As you have been for a while. How's that going, by the way? I thought you were pretty close to being done with the script.
No, I was not. I'm like, the research process is obviously taking more and more time because like there's also like a lot of Hebrew. And like I'm trying to make sense of everything while not knowing the Hebrew. So
maybe just, there are apps that you can use that will just give you the Hebrew word that's used and give you every translation that you can for that Hebrew word. But I mean, don't fall into a nirvana fallacy either, where it has to be perfect before you release it.
Yeah.
I
want it to be well done is the thing.
Right. The essence is that they continually have these quotes from Isaiah.
They do.
Throughout the Gospels, which is totally nonsensical.
Ellis, the $4.99. Thank you very much. Appreciated.
But yeah, it's just totally nonsensical. Why do they keep referring to Isaiah?
Yeah. So because Isaiah is from all the prophets, he definitely has like quite a lot of exalted terminology, exalted views on like the future. So he's very grand. He's no Ezekiel. Ezekiel's great, by the way.
Yeah. But they can't use Ezekiel because then they can't have their original sin doctrine.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, they also wouldn't be able to use Son of Man so specifically.
Also, yes.
Right. It just kind of blows my mind that, Christians will talk about like, oh, well, Jesus fulfilled all of these prophecies from the Old Testament. Like, all the prophecies that they're talking about are just misinterpretations of the reading.
Yeah.
And like anyone who's actually read the text and looked over it, like with any level of depth, would be able to tell them that.
Yeah, if you've actually read it and if you actually read the work that it's in instead of the quotation in the New Testament.
You have more than 5, like, I don't know, spurs in your comb. Because then you've got too fine tooth a comb if you've got more than 5.
If you have
you might
5,
actually find something easily if you had more than 5. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a comb with only 5, and it's like you should have gotten a new comb a long time ago.
Comb, man. Yeah. Not really going to be able to parse through anything.
No.
Therefore they could not believe, because that Isaiah said, again, he hath blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, that they should not see with their eyes, nor understand with their heart, and be converted, and I should heal them. These things said Isaiah when he saw his glory and spake of him. Nevertheless, among the chief rulers also many believed on him, but because of the Pharisees, they did not confess him, lest they should be put out of the synagogue. Yep. That is something that's been brought up before. Of course, as we've mentioned before, this doesn't appear to be in line with history. Like, those who have believed in specific people as the Messiah before have not been put out of the synagogue.
Yeah.
Like, this would just not be in line with anything that would actually happen. So, absurd. All right. For they loved the praise of men more than the praise of God. Jesus cried and said, He that believeth on me believeth not on me, but on him that sent me. And he that seeth me seeth him that sent me. I am come a light into the world, that whosoever believeth on me should not abide in darkness. And if any man hear my words, and believe not, I judge him not. For I came not to judge the world, but to save the world. He that rejecteth me, and receiveth not my words, hath one that judgeth him. The word that I have spoken, the same shall judge him in the last day. For I have not spoken of myself, but the Father which sent me and gave me a commandment, what I should say and what I should speak. And I know that his commandment is life everlasting. Whatsoever I speak, therefore, even as the Father said unto me, so I speak. And that is the end of the reading for today.
I think part of the reason that those sections in Isaiah are quoted so often is because the Hebrew, it can also be translated in like a whole bunch of ways. But
they never reference the Hebrew. They reference the Septuagint,
right? Because that's what they knew.
Yeah.
So the thing is, it would differ in the Masoretic text. It would differ in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and of course, it would differ in the Septuagint. So there are already a vast amount of different interpretations of these. So the way that Christians and Jews read this stuff is completely differently. So when you're reading it as a Christian, you can see Jesus in it. But when you're reading it as a Jew, you don't force those translations on it.
Oh, so confirmation bias.
Yeah, essentially. Because while the words and the sentences those are like possible interpretations for it.
But it's so cherry picked because
it is
like,
cherry-picked,
in order to interpret it that way, you just have to interpret like single verses or single groups of verses while ignoring the context that surrounds them entirely.
Yeah.
I know that you've had some conversations with Jehovah's Witnesses, which have gone into a lot of this kind of stuff with their reading of the Bible.
Yeah. Like when they reference the whole, like how many spots are left in heaven and shit like that, right?
None.
Full.
Yeah.
There are no spots.
And the thing is, I have to point out that they were meant for Jews. It says it right there that if you read the preceding verse, it was for Jews.
Oh, how many spots were there?
It was supposed to be. Well, the thing is, it said 144,000. But the thing is, that's just completeness, right?
Right.
I think it was 144.
But, you know,
it wasn't supposed to be literal.
So 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. And a lot of Jews died prior to then.
Yes, they did.
So, like,
after that, too.
All of the spots are full.
Yeah.
Basically.
It was 144,000. Okay, that's what I thought. But yeah, like either way, it says there's specifically in Revelation that it was for Jews. By the way, that's the reading for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. All of it is very much appreciated. We also we have a Patreon. If you become a patron, you could be on the show. You could have access to all our video scripts.
You could be entered into a t-shirt giveaway, or you could just click on this pinned merchandise right here and buy yourself one of our beautiful t-shirts. By the way, we should make a Gog and Magog t-shirt.
Yeah, I saw. I think it was Klaus, right? Who you said that Gog and Magog, and then Ruben and Lawrence. What's the difference? They're the same picture.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, we could just do that meme.
Yeah, okay.
It would not sell well, and it would not look good on a shirt.
It would be horrible,
but it would be funny.
Maybe we could just post the meme on Twitter or something.
We could. Beyond that, we also have an Amazon wish list. If you want to give us books to add to this table or to our book collections, you may go onto Amazon and buy us books.
They're called libraries, actually.
No.
Book collections.
No. A book collection.
Okay, not a library.
No.
You can have a personal library. Isn't that a book collection?
You can have we should open a private library. Screw public libraries.
So who would...
When's the last time you saw like a building that's a library? That's not just like some dude's personal library.
I've seen a bunch of them.
That is a private library.
I've seen a ton of those.
Where?
There's like 15 downtown.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, most of them used to belong to universities, and then they are now public. And they don't always call them libraries either, guys. They call them other things like, I don't know, indexes or there's another name for them. Not databases. Obviously, that's the digital version of it, but there's storehouses. I swear, they just store these things in these.
No, I'm not referring to a warehouse with boxes of books in it.
No, not even that. No, it's like they have specific racks to roll and move books in environments that otherwise they stay cold in and they don't see light.
I see. Okay, I should get one of those racks. They sound.
Do you know what I'm talking about? They
No, I haven't seen.
They allow you to look at one bookshelf at a time.
Oh yes. Yes, I actually, I've seen that in movies and cartoons.
It's in movies. I've seen it in real life a bunch. I don't even know. Indexes, I swear there's names for these things. It's not just called indexes. But
maybe if you actually knew the name.
Archives. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, there's tons of those. And they don't call them private libraries, but that's what they are. They really are private libraries, and there's tons of them.
Okay, well, we shouldn't open an archive.
Why not?
But
They're
we
great.
should open a private library. We need a building with like engraved library on the front. But in order to get in, you need to pay like a sick membership fee that is like just a ridiculous fee, like $1,000 a week.
Wow,
or
that is
you could be one of our $1 patrons on Patreon and get automatic access to the.
How crazy is that? That's such a good deal. Yeah. And you know what else is a good deal?
What?
The if you guys are getting to the end of the show, by the way, we've started doing this thing, and we've seen people actually have been doing this. They've been getting to the end of the show. So if you get to the end of the show,
write us a 100-point show question in the comments.
No. We have to give them a phrase, right? A phrase to say that they got to the end of the show.
So for 100 points, enter question here.
Why are you like this? Just
frankincense and myrrh. There you go.
No,
spikenard.
Spikenard. Just say spikenard.
Yeah,
there you go.
Type in spikenard in the comments.
Yeah. I feel like people are just going to get flagged for spam. But you can say spikenard in the message. That's fine, but whatever.
Or you could ask us a 100-point show question.
Including spikenard.
Yeah.
Oh, this is for people later. Sorry.
It's fine for now. It doesn't matter.
You can now, but for
anything
later, for those who didn't attend live.
Yeah, if they get to the end of the show. Yeah. Either way, thanks for joining us. We'll be back on Friday, so we will
see you on Friday.
Facebook and Twitter.